Leaky pipe? Tight space? SharkBite might be your quick fix. Here's the deal. SharkBite fittings can be incredibly useful, but only if you understand what they are not, and when they make sense. I'm going to walk you through how they work, why people use them, the mistakes that cause leaks, the situations where they save the day, and the situations where you should absolutely choose something else. You open a cabinet under the sink, and there it is. A damp spot on the pipe, a tight corner you can barely reach, and a repair that looks way more complicated than it should. Maybe you've heard SharkBite fittings are the easy answer. Maybe you've also heard they're not for real plumbing, or that they can fail if you look at them wrong. If you buy them without understanding the basics, you can waste money, create a weak repair, or end up redoing the job later. But if you know how to inspect the pipe, prep the cut, check the sizing, and think about pressure, movement, and code, then these fittings can be one of the most practical tools in your plumbing kit. At the simplest level, a SharkBite fitting is a push-to-connect connector. You push the pipe into the fitting, the internal teeth grip it, and the O-ring inside creates the seal. That is the entire trick. No solder, no glue, no threading, no special torch, no curing time, no waiting around for a joint to harden. For a homeowner staring at a leak on a Sunday night, that sounds almost too good to be true. And that's why people get excited about them. But the important part is this. SharkBite fittings do not magically fix plumbing problems. They only connect clean, properly sized, properly cut pipe in a way that is fast and reliable when used correctly. If the pipe is damaged, out of round, poorly deburred, or not fully inserted, the fitting can leak. If the pipe is not fully supported, it can move. If the application is wrong, the fitting becomes a shortcut instead of a solution. So before you buy, you need to know the difference between a convenience fitting and a permanent repair strategy. There are a few reasons SharkBite fittings became so popular. First, speed. A repair that would normally take cutting, soldering, and cleanup can sometimes be done in minutes. Second, accessibility. If the pipe is in a tight wall cavity, near wood framing, or in a spot where heat is risky, a push-to-connect fitting can make the job possible without opening half the house. Third, versatility. Many SharkBite fittings work with copper, PEX, and CPVC, which means one fitting can often bridge different pipe types during a repair. Fourth, safety. If you're replacing a section of line near insulation, wiring, or framing, not having to use a torch is a huge advantage. That said, every advantage has a limit. The same features that make SharkBite attractive can also make people overconfident. They assume easy means anything goes. It doesn't. Inside the fitting, there are two separate systems doing two separate jobs. The stainless steel teeth grip the pipe and resist pullout. The rubber O-ring creates the watertight seal. That means the pipe must be pushed in far enough for the O-ring to sit on a smooth, clean section of pipe. If the insertion depth is wrong, the seal may not sit where it should. If the pipe end is rough or scratched, the seal can be compromised. If the pipe has burrs or debris, the O-ring may not seat properly. So, the fitting is not forgiving in the way many people assume. It is convenient, yes, but it still depends on precision. And because the seal is mechanical, not bonded, the quality of the cut matters a lot. A crooked cut can create a bad seating surface. A sharp edge can damage the O-ring. That's why a pipe cutter, a deburring tool, and a visual inspection are not optional extras. They are part of the job. If a SharkBite fails, it is usually not because the idea is bad. It is because the installation was sloppy. The first mistake is cutting the pipe badly. A rough hacksaw cut or a bent crushed end can prevent a proper seal. Use the right cutter for the material and make a clean, square cut. The second mistake is forgetting to deburr. Even a tiny burr can score the O-ring or keep the pipe from fully seating. The third mistake is contamination. Paint, grease, dirt, corrosion, or even a little old flux residue can interfere with the seal. The fourth mistake is not marking the insertion depth. If you don't know how far the pipe should go in, you're guessing. And guessing is not a plumbing method. The fifth mistake is pulling on the fitting before confirming it is fully seated. You want the pipe all the way in until it reaches the stop. If it is halfway in, it is not installed. The sixth mistake is using the fitting in a place with movement or stress it was never meant to handle. A pipe that vibrates, flexes hard, or gets bumped repeatedly needs proper support. The fitting is not a substitute for good pipe alignment. And there's one more thing beginners miss all the time: confidence after the first click. The fitting may feel seated, but feeling is not the same as confirming. Take the extra second to mark, check, and verify. That tiny habit can save you from reopening the cabinet later. There are situations where SharkBite fittings are exactly the right tool. If you need a fast emergency repair, they are excellent. A leak can be stopped quickly while you plan a permanent fix. If you are working in a tight, awkward area where soldering is impractical, they can save a lot of time and risk. If you are transitioning between pipe types, they can simplify the connection. If you are doing a temporary setup, a test line, or a project that may need future changes, the easy removal and reuse of certain SharkBite fittings can be very helpful. If you're a DIYer who does not have soldering experience, they can make a manageable repair possible without introducing fire hazards. That's the real value. Not that they replace all plumbing methods, but that they make certain jobs much safer, faster, and more accessible. Now here's where people get into trouble. If the pipe is hidden behind finished walls and you are relying on a fitting to solve a larger problem, stop and ask why the pipe failed in the first place. A quick connector won't fix freezing, bad support, corrosion, water hammer, or poor system design. If the installation will be exposed to constant vibration or mechanical abuse, you should be cautious. If the pipe is not properly prepared, the fitting is not the answer. If the job is in a location where local plumbing code restricts the use of push-to-connect fittings, you need to follow the code, not the marketing. If you are planning to bury the fitting permanently or place it somewhere inaccessible without confirming it is allowed in your area, that is a mistake you may regret later. And if you are trying to use a SharkBite as a bandage over a larger failure in the system, you are likely only delaying the real repair. Before you pick the fitting off the shelf, look at the pipe you're actually working with. Check the material. SharkBite fittings are commonly used on copper, PEX, and CPVC, but you need the correct fitting size and type for the pipe you have. Check the outside diameter. Nominal pipe size and actual outside diameter are not the same thing, and that confusion causes a lot of wrong purchases. Check the condition of the pipe. If the pipe is deeply pitted, badly scratched, oval-shaped, or corroded, the fitting may not seal well. Check the available space. You need room for the pipe to insert fully into the fitting and enough space to use the disconnect clip later if removal is needed. Check for movement. If the pipe can flex, wiggle, or shift when water pressure changes, the repair may need extra support. And if the pipe has old solder, paint, or debris on the insertion area, clean it properly. A good fitting on a dirty pipe is still a bad connection. This is also the moment to slow down and compare what you're holding to what the project actually needs. Sometimes the right answer is a coupling. Sometimes it is a valve. Sometimes it is not a push fitting at all. The pipe tells you the truth if you take the time to look. A beginner should not buy randomly and hope for the best. Start with the correct diameter and compatible material. Do not assume one size fits most. It doesn't. Choose the right fitting style for the job. Couplings for straight repairs, elbows for directional changes, T's for branching, valves when you need shutoff control. If the repair is in a visible or difficult-to-reach area, consider whether a standard SharkBite fitting or a model with extra features makes more sense for your access and service needs. Avoid buying the fitting before measuring the pipe carefully. It sounds obvious, but a lot of wasted trips to the hardware store happen because someone guessed the size. Avoid buying a fitting to compensate for a bad cut. The fitting will not cure a damaged pipe end. Avoid buying a push-to-connect solution for a problem that really needs replacement of a long section, re-supporting, or rerouting. And avoid the mindset that if it fits, it must be right. Plumbing is not built on optimism. A proper installation starts with a clean square cut. After that, deburr the edge and clean the pipe surface. Remove anything that could damage the O-ring or block full insertion. Measure the insertion depth if the fitting calls for it. Mark the pipe so you can confirm it reaches the stop. Push the pipe in firmly and evenly. You should feel its seat. Do not stop early. After installation, tug gently to confirm the grip. The pipe should not slide out. Then test the repair under pressure and inspect it carefully. Look for moisture, drips, and slow seepage. If the pipe is vertical, horizontal, or awkwardly positioned, make sure it is supported well enough that the fitting is not carrying unnecessary load. And if the repair is part of a larger system, test that system too. One dry connection does not guarantee the rest of the line is healthy. A smart habit here is to watch the joint for a few minutes after water is restored, not just a few seconds. Small leaks sometimes announce themselves slowly, and catching that early is the difference between a clean finish and a wet cabinet floor. If you see a drip at the fitting, the first suspect is installation quality. Was the pipe cut cleanly? Was it fully inserted? Was it deburred? If the fitting seems loose, the pipe may be the wrong size or damaged. If you hear noise after installation, the system may have pressure issues, air in the line, or movement that needs support. If a fitting keeps failing in the same location, the problem may not be the fitting at all. It may be pipe movement, freezing, vibration, or poor alignment. If you're getting repeated leaks on multiple joints, step back and inspect the whole system. Sometimes, the real issue is old pipe condition, not the connector. If the pipe is hot, cold, or under unusual stress, make sure the fitting is rated and installed for that environment. And if you are unsure whether the problem is with the fitting or the plumbing around it, do not keep adding more fittings as a guess. Diagnose first. A second connector on top of a bad setup usually just gives you a second point of failure. One reason SharkBite fittings are so practical is that they give you breathing room. If you cut a pipe slightly too short, a coupling can often save the repair. If you need to isolate a section quickly, a valve fitting gives you control. If you are upgrading a small section of old pipe and the rest of the line stays in place, a push-to-connect transition can make the work manageable. That flexibility is especially useful for beginners who do not yet have the full soldering or repiping skill set. But flexibility should not turn into dependency. The best use of these fittings is strategic use. You pick them because they solve a specific problem well, not because they let you avoid thinking. Sometimes the best choice is not a SharkBite fitting. If the pipe is badly deteriorated, replace the section rather than connect to weak material. If the area will be permanently concealed and local rules require a different method, use the approved method. If the line needs major rerouting or support, do the structural repair instead of patching over symptoms. If the plumbing is old enough that the next failure is likely elsewhere, it may make sense to plan a larger upgrade. And if you are working on a system where temperature, pressure, or access conditions are extreme, a more permanent connection method may be the better long-term decision. A good plumber does not ask, "Can I make this fit?" A good plumber asks, "Is this the right repair for the system?" The confidence comes from process, not guesswork. Measure first, cut cleanly, deburr carefully. Inspect the pipe, insert fully. Test under pressure, support the pipe properly. That routine removes most of the risk. The fitting itself is only one part of the repair. The rest is attention to detail. And once you understand that, the tool starts making a lot more sense. SharkBite fittings are not a loophole. They are a method, a fast method, a useful method, and often a very smart method, but still a method that depends on doing the basics correctly. If you're standing in the plumbing aisle wondering whether SharkBite fittings are worth buying, the answer is yes. Sometimes, absolutely. They can turn a difficult repair into a manageable one, especially for emergencies, tight spaces, and mixed material transitions. But buy them with your eyes open. Know the pipe size, know the pipe material, know the condition of the pipe, know the installation rules, and know the limits of the fitting. If you use them as intended, they can save time, reduce risk, and solve a real problem cleanly. If you use them carelessly, they can give you a false sense of security and a leak you'll have to revisit later. So before you buy, remember the simple rule. Choose SharkBite for the job it was designed to do, not for the problem you wish would disappear. That one decision makes the difference between a quick fix that lasts and a shortcut that comes back to haunt you.